Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys from down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys from Africa, you know we love you, the Big C tribe, but Big C. We love Canada, yet there's still no one we love more than you good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I'm finally getting that crick out of my neck after getting out of that homeless shelter called the Atlanta airport last night.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen so many people, Charlton, sleeping around and laying on floors in my life.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. You know, the thing shut down last night. They had some type of power outage. And,
oh, really?
You know, it was dark in there. I mean, it's the biggest airport in the world.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was the busiest homeless shelter last night in the world also because
yeah.
you couldn't even find a piece of tile to sleep on.
Yeah, I think a lot of good old boys, I thought that, you know how a lot of the southern friends, when they want electricity, they'll plug into their neighbor's backyard. They'll plug into the neighbor's, whatever they got to plug into electric system. I thought somebody took some electricity from the airport. That's what caused an outage. Was I wrong about that fact?
Well, I'm not sure what happened, Jonathan. It was nerve-wracking. You know, you're sitting at the gate in a plane ready to take off.
Yeah.
3 hours later, you're still sitting at the gate. And they said they got some type of problem. So I'm like, okay, but we're on the plane and the engines are running. So what's the problem?
Yeah, I know. All's fair in love and war. We know traveling for the holidays can be something. I know a lot of people realize, you know, you think about flying all over the country, and some people think that it's in New York that has the busiest airport in the United States. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you on beautiful December the 18th, 2017 in the land of the free and the home of the brave. So I believe they got the airport situation figured out, Big C, and hopefully people can get to their destinations. But I don't think they can rebook people that easily when you have people flying all over the world and they can't get their flight. They're 9 hours late. They're not going to wait for the next airport to catch up to you. Does that make any sense?
No, Charlton, they didn't. Luckily enough, I was able to get moved to a direct flight this afternoon and get out of there. But, you know, it was a hectic situation. There was no hotel rooms anywhere. And, you know, it was just chaotic. You know, you think about the people with the small children.
Yeah.
That were there, that was stuck, you know, they had no place to rest and comfort their children. And that was the most disheartening part about it, Charlton. But this was something that, you know, the airlines had no control of. They said it was some type of fire or something that shorted out, some electrical problem that they had there in the airport. But it blacked out the entire airport. And you think about it, they canceled between yesterday and today, Charlton, some 1,100 flights.
Wow.
So that's a busy place. And you think, as you said, they fly all over the world out of there. It's the world's busiest airport. But, you know, 1,100 flights, you think about it, some airports don't handle 1,100 flights in a year.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. That's true.
And they had to cancel half of their daily load. I think this place flies out close to 3,000 flights a day, and some 1,100 of them were canceled last night. So, but I mean, it was hair-raising. We sit in the plane for 3 hours before they finally detained us and stuff, and they offered us a bottle of water and some stale chips. Hey, sorry about this. Sorry.
Well,
I'm hungry.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get some of those catfish back home before they spoiled Big C with the power being out down in the south. I want to ask you how much moonshine went bad when they couldn't keep it on ice, Big C. Any thoughts on the count?
Well, you know, that's the thing about it, Charlton. They didn't hand out any libation. I guess they didn't want anybody to be too relaxed and fall asleep on those hard floors in the airport last night.
Yeah.
You know, I would have rather had, you know, some libation instead of a can of Coke.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. A lot of good things happening in the world of the sports, and obviously, you know, we'll touch on a lot of things. We have the NFL. You know, this is the time of year. This is really playoff football because for some teams they're being knocked out of the playoff race, and other teams are just hanging on by a slim thread or hanging on by an index card. If you're out here in Oakland, Big C, they use it with all the money the NFL has. were using an index card to decide if something was a first down. And like the good old boys down in Las Vegas, he had the card folded. If you guys saw that on the replay, he folded the index card saying, well, it's touching the card as a first down. Also, I mean, Pittsburgh up in the Northeast, people thought it was a touchdown because it looked like a touchdown when the receiver has the ball and crosses the goal line. And when he hits the ground, they say, well, he didn't hold on long enough. A lot of good things happen in the world of sports. But just give me your thoughts, Big C, as we go to ESPN, because I do want to thank our brethren in the business. And I want to give our best thoughts to President John Skipper. He resigned from ESPN, and he mentioned he had a substance abuse issue. We know that's a huge problem all over the United States, Big C. Your thoughts on what that means for other people? You think they could have gotten some help? Why do they have to step down, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this has been a long, ongoing problem, evidently. And, you know, he's helped so many people in the industry and, you know, perpetuated so many careers. But sometimes individuals recognize for themselves that they're beyond the scope of where they should be.
Yeah.
And even in seeking help, Charlton, that it's going to be a long, arduous process. You know, getting help from some type of substance abuse is not an overnight or a weekend fix, as a lot of people want to think. You know, you're talking about having to spend time. But also, you also have to remove yourself from the atmosphere, Charlton, that's created this mayhem in your life. And so if you fall right back into the same druthers that you were in before, most likely you're going to pick that habit all up again. And normally, you know, when you're in a lot of these events and social atmospheres that you have to go to when you're the executive of a network or even a corporation, there's always going to be some type of substance around to utilize. And so, you know, the thing is, you know, the former First Lady Nancy Reagan said, just say no. You know, and how do you say just say no when you're an addict? People think being an addict is only one type of addict. It has to be some hard narcotics, Charlton. Alcoholism and tobacco use are the biggest habit-forming drugs in America, okay? Those are the largest abused drugs in America. But, Charlton, the government makes money off of them. So they're legal. They have a stamp on them that the government gets paid every time you fire up a cigarette, every time you drink a can of beer or take a shot of booze. The government gets paid off of it, and they know that they're both addicted. Some people have that chemical imbalance where they just can't handle alcohol, Charlton, and we hope the best for him and his family in the future, that, you know, he's able to get some serious help and consideration about this addiction that he has carried for a long time, because it just hasn't been a weekend thing, Charlton. You know, and nowadays with society the way that it is, and ESPN being the largest sports media outlet in the world, you know, things are hard to keep silent, you know, and stuff comes out. And so he most likely took the high road, because there were probably some incidents that were going to come out. He said, look, I'll just resign, and we'll let that other stuff go.
Well, you know, and that's very good, because we hope all well for him and anyone going through any type of issues, that you can get help without losing your job. And ironically, when you have, you know, John Skipper stepping down from ESPN, and again, our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family from Big C Sports. But I do want to bring up a similar situation. We have Scott McCullough. The Redskins will meet with him in Washington on Monday, you know, today, for a hearing that determines whether the former GM can recoup the $2.8 million that was left on his contract when they fired him last March, Big C. And the reason they say they fired him is because he had, I mean, everybody has issues, but at the time they said that he had a problem as an alcoholic. Now, how do you fire someone for being an alcoholic when sometimes when they come to you, they're supposed to get some type of counseling? Maybe they already tried that. So he's trying to get $2.8 million for being an alcoholic, and they fired him. I would hope he could get his job back, because nobody's perfect. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you can see Daniel Snyder several times during the game. With a drink in his hand. Who knows what's in the cup?
Isn't that true?
We've all witnessed that on television. I don't think that they're always just drinking a soda.
It's water, Big C. It's always water, right?
It's dark in color.
Dark water. You know that they get that water from over there in Detroit, Big C. That's why it's dark, okay?
But as we talk about the atmosphere and the climate, Charlton, that you're around all the time, it's not uncommon for these people to have alcohol events that they attend. And it was noted many times on broadcast that he seemed to be somewhat inebriated, allegedly.
Allegedly,
okay? So, you know, who knows the climate? You know, when you want to get rid of somebody, you find a reason to get rid of them. And I don't think that anybody in management knew in the Redskins that he had not had a drink in previous times.
They promote it, Big C. They promote it. You just said it. They promote it. They have their cups up to their face, and we all can assume it's water, but we know the real deal. And the guy was released from his duty for doing what oftentimes they celebrate. What are they pouring you good old boys when you win a championship? What do they pop, Big C?
Charlton, it's not just what they pour on you during a championship of the champagne that they waste thousands of dollars worth of champagne on some carpet. But you think about when you come into the locker room after a game.
Yep.
There's readily having beer accessible for the players.
Yeah.
There's always a tub of beer, a couple of beers sitting in your locker, Charlton.
Yep.
For you have for hydration. And ironically, beer, Charlton, is the most nutritious thing you can drink. It's actually more nutritious than Gatorade.
Yeah.
Not promoting it for athletic young people, Charlton, but it just has those nutritional bodies about it.
Yeah.
And so it's always been given to athletes, Charlton, as an alternative. After a hard practice, after a game, it's passed out to rehydrate your body.
Yeah. Well,
so when organizations have given it out in all professional sports, Charlton, you look at every stadium. There's a banner up for Budweiser.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
You know, and even hard liquor now up in the stadium. So here it is as a team. You don't mind taking the beverage company's money.
Millions, yeah.
And also the donations that they leave for the team, for the players to utilize, and management.
Yeah. Yeah.
To use that as a reason to fire somebody for what he's getting from one of your sponsors.
Yep.
I think that's a tough line to draw in the sand, Charlton.
Big C, I love that point you just made. I remember there was a commercial back in the day. There was a kid, when you talked about the late Nancy Reagan and how she said, just say no to drugs as if it was that easy. But they had this father that had some marijuana in his dresser drawer. And he found his kids, smoking it. And so the father got mad at the teenage boy and said, "Where'd you get this stuff? Who told you how to use this?" And he said, "Dad, I got it from your dresser." And the dad dropped his eyes. He was so he was heartbroken because he's the one who got his son hooked on it. And you just brought up a great point. Alcohol advertisement really sells on all the major sporting events. All the major sporting venues. A $10 beer is no big deal at a big sporting event. And now you're going to say one of your employees has a drinking problem. And just like that commercial back in the day, well, how'd you get started with this stuff? Who got you hooked on this? And it said, well, I looked at the advertisement inside the stadium, and so I started doing what you want the average fan to do, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, not only did he look inside the advertisement, but like I said earlier, they contributed to the teams.
Yeah.
All teams are sponsored by a beer company, Charlton, in every market, regardless of the sport.
Yeah.
We had beer sponsors when I was playing.
Yep.
They were advocates of the team. Some of them have ownership, Charlton, partial ownership in teams. You think about the Bush family.
Yeah.
Who do you think they own? The St. Louis Cardinals.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. That's true.
Think about the Milwaukee Brewers, Charlton. They were owned by a beer family.
Yeah.
Okay? So they didn't get that name by mistake.
Yeah.
Bush Stadium wasn't there for a reason in St. Louis. It's still Bush Stadium.
Isn't that something?
So you think about the alcoholic involvement that's always been in sports. I mean, some of the greatest sports heroes of all time, Charlton, have been alleged to have been inebriated during performances.
Yep.
Babe Ruth was highly touted
for
that during his days. And you think about the first Super Bowl and the Packer wide receiver, there was Boyd Dower, who caught the 2 touchdowns, Charlton, in the game after partying all night the night before.
Yep.
Joe Namath was known as a partier and going out clubbing.
Broadway Joe, yeah.
The snake, many times the snake showed up like that.
He was relaxed.
For games and practices or whatever,
Yeah.
Sometimes you had to back out of the huddle, snake, back up a little bit, people were telling.
Yeah.
So, these things have always occurred in the sporting arena.
Yeah.
And you think about it. How many teams would be able to sue the full team if they fired everybody for consuming alcohol?
Isn't that something? But that point you brought up was so salient, where one of their biggest sponsors happen to be alcoholic beverage companies, and they put them on the scoreboards. They sponsor the stadiums, and so I just hope they can get the man help, because there's a lot of issues with that. But the league has to also look at itself. If you're going to fire someone for consuming what you buy and what you accept the funds for advertising dollars, and your own guy has issues with it, well, you're the one providing that to him, and I hope that all over the country people can get help as opposed to being fired. I got to bring up another issue, and it's kind of near and dear to my heart because I think in this world of Donald Trump and how a lot of people can be, angry and the real racism can come out that they've been hiding for a long time. I haven't heard anyone say that Jerry Richardson was that kind of person, the owner of the Carolina Panthers. And obviously, there's some talk that he had some racial slur. Who doesn't have a racial slur sometimes, Big C, when you're drinking? Some of your friends yell racial slurs at me when I'm hanging out with you guys, Big C. But I want to ask, at some point in time, we know a lot of people in the entertainment industry, okay? I'm not trying to make an excuse for anything. I would hope that people would not get fired over a slur when the majority of who they employ happen to be African Americans. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, does the name Donald Sterling ring a bell to your mind?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Jerry Richardson and Donald Sterling, there was no difference in these two individuals, Charlton. The things that Jerry Richardson was doing were appalling. Here it is, he's demanding foot rubs from employees.
Oh, see, I didn't know that part. I did not know that part. I was talking, okay.
Demanding physical contact and denigrating African-American scouts on his organization as well as the players, Charlton.
Wow.
He was saying a lot of demeaning things about everybody, men and women. So it's time for Jerry Richardson to go. You got to understand, the reason why Jerry Richardson stayed around for so long, and the NFL has known about this, what he has been doing and saying, is because the NFL has fought for a long time to have former player as an owner.
Yeah.
Jerry Richardson is only the second former player in the history of the NFL, Charlton, in the 80-year history of the NFL to be a former player and owner.
Wow.
The first was George Halas of the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
So Jerry Richardson was only the second pioneer to be able to accomplish that feat. So the NFL, just based on what it likes to say, protected the shield, protected Jerry Richardson for years until it just got to a point that they could no longer protect him.
Wow.
There was no back talk from the office when he said, hey, I'm giving up the team because of this conduct. I'll just sell it. So what the NFL did was say, Jerry, because they can no longer hide this, his constituents.
Yeah.
He can no longer hide his activities and say, okay, we're going to let you make some money and walk away from this thing. We're not going to make it ugly like Donald Sterling. We've already witnessed the NBA.
Yeah.
But you also got to look at how heartless that the NFL is that they let him continue on. They didn't pull a Donald Sterling the Adam Silver saying, hey, this is immediate.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They gave him a pat on the back. We're going to give you some flowers going out the door.
Yeah.
Donald Sterling said, no, this bullshitty's not going to continue.
Yeah.
Okay?
Hold on, Busy. Bullshitty's a restaurant down south, right?
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a national chain any day soon, Big C. And they do serve real shimmy from what I understand, Big C. So I hear it's really popular treat. So you just brought up another point, how you look at Silver in the NBA, he's more, I guess he's more consistent because even the NFL, and I know Goodell just got the $200 million, and who would turn down a $200 million pay raise? But you see, I'm out here on the West Coast. I thought the man was a fine man and a decent man, but you know a lot more people than I do that are on the inside. And I look at him and I contrast him with the Mara family, John Mara, who's considered one of the paragons of virtue when it comes to NFL owners, Big C. But they hit Brown when he beat his wife over 20 times, and they hit him. They didn't fire that man. Imagine if he was beating up Miss Mara.
When you speak about that, think about the NFL ownership unilaterally, okay?
Yeah.
How many owners came out and blasted the Mara family for hiding this? None of them.
None of them.
Okay.
No, that's a good point.
So they were aware that they're in conference with each other.
Wow.
So when they know that there's an abusive situation going on internally within them, Johnson, it's them. It's one of them. All right.
Wow.
It's not the guy on the outside. It's one of them. So it's just like when you're ever in a situation, Thompson, and a racial joke is told.
Yeah.
The person that's telling the racial joke, the first thing he'll do is look to his left and look to his right, then continue with the joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He wants to make sure that somebody's around not going to sucker punch you for making that statement.
Yeah.
This is the same scenario with Jerry Richardson, just like with the Mara family, Jonathan. These are your buddies. They know what you do. You say these comments when you're around them because you're in a room full of billionaires.
Wow.
What billionaire wants to undermine another billionaire, Jonathan? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So when you want to walk around and think that Richardson is a saint, that the Mara family were a saint, look at them, how they come out. They cried 2 weeks ago saying, well, we didn't know what was going on with Eli.
Yeah.
That's the same thing they said that they didn't know what was going on with Josh Brown when he was kicking his wife all over the place, his former wife, all right?
Yeah.
You lied then, you lied 2 weeks ago, and Jerry Richardson been lying for years, Charlton, about his abusive nature, talking about he cared. No, he cared about his own self, Charlton. Because in this country of America, which has been built on the backs of everybody, billionaires have had autonomy. I don't care what your name is. If you're a billionaire in America, you have autonomy against anything. Going to jail, getting arrested, anything, Charlton. And so your misconduct as a billionaire, you can buy your way. Charlton, you know judges, you know politicians, okay? You know police chiefs. You get out of stuff. And Jerry Richardson, if you or I or any broadcaster in America had pulled these acts, Charlton, we would have been fired, would probably gone to jail. I mean, you look at the number of media people that have fallen by the wayside. Even Dustin Hoffman. You think about what Dustin Hoffman did and been alleged of doing. It's similar to what Jerry Richardson was doing, demanding certain things of co-workers. And people beneath him. So Jerry Richardson, what we got to do as Americans, stop giving rich and famous people a pass. On sexual misconduct, Charlton. That's what Americans got. If you're a celebrity, you've gotten a pass for decades on sexual misconduct and inappropriate behavior. Oh, well, you know, so you're going to tell me that celebrity doesn't put their pants on like everybody else, Charlton? They don't brush their teeth like everybody else. They don't shower under the same type of water that everybody else, Charlton. You can't put somebody on a pedestal and say it's okay to commit crimes.
I agree 100%. You know, and I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, I'm part ignorant too. I gotta confess ignorance on Richardson because everything that his public persona was that he's a fine gentleman, and even having Cam Newton.
When was the last time you saw a rapist walk down the street with a tattoo on his forehead saying "This is what I do"?
Well, that's true, but I was gonna bring up the fact that an outspoken athlete on this team, Cam Newton, was the league MVP just 2 seasons ago when they went to the Super Bowl down in San Francisco, and I would think that. I mean, I'm not trying to put Cam Newton out and say that he has to be a modern-day Muhammad Ali or Kaepernick, but you would think that someone of his ilk would be able to say, you know, that's not cool, that's not acceptable, but how do you go and tell your boss what he can or cannot do, Big C? That's a good point, too, as well.
Charlton, as a player, there's limitations as far as what you can say, and if you don't have carnal knowledge of what's going on, then it's inappropriate for you to speak about certain actions. I mean, you think about what we just had over the state of Alabama for the past month. Roy Jones, okay? Roy Jones didn't walk around telling everybody he was a pedophile.
But they knew he couldn't even get into the mall.
but they knew it was because they banned him from the mall. But you don't ban the average person from the mall.
No.
Where the young girls hang out, okay? Any mall you go into in America, Charlton, is full of young girls. So you banish this young man for a reason because he's a predator. And so, that's public knowledge that he was a predator. But he's saying he has no accounts. I mean, that's become the Republican mantra.
I don't remember and I don't recall.
I don't remember and I don't recall. But if I did, I apologize. You know, that's a Republican mantra now. I don't remember. I don't recall. If I did, I apologize.
Well, I tell you,
let's put somebody through some shock therapy and see if they recall.
That's what they call waterboarding, Big C.
Let's put them in the jail cell with Bubba. Okay?
The Bubba,
Let's put them in the jail cell with Bubba with a jar of Vaseline and say, I don't recall.
Oh, man. I tell you what, and it's as flippant as it may seem, that's what a lot of men have been forcing women to do by saying, here's your paycheck in my right hand, and here's some of the draconian things I need you to do to keep it in my left hand. Now, do you want your pink slip or do you want to do what I need you to do? And when people have that kind of power over women, they've done it for years. So I'm glad the cat's out of the bag on him. And I felt also like I was naive because I always thought he was a fine gentleman just from his public persona. And I think he acquired the team in 1993. So for all the women who have been put through that garbage, I know Big C Sports is the only show that talks about it every single show. No tolerance for domestic abuse or domestic violence or forcing women to do things against their will. And nobody else will talk about it every day. They'll do it maybe for like a show or a week at a time, Big C. So I just want to bring that up. But I also want to jump on another issue. As we get into the world of the NFL and what happened on the weekend, we'll touch on that. But I do want to mention the fact that in California and all over the country, we were talking about the high school football players who were great back in the day, had great NFL careers. I want to congratulate the California State Division I champions, Modern Day High School of Santa Ana, California. They are 15-0, ranked number 1 in the country in the USA Today, and also all the sports writers and Cal High Sports and Max Preps. They all have Mater Dei ranked number 1 with a 52-21 win over perennial power De La Salle High School of Concord. So Bruce Rollinson, congratulations! Your second national champion, the first one since 1994. And that when I saw the Mater Dei team, Big C, I thought it was USC with different uniforms. They have kids that are like 6'6", 6'7", 6'5", 350 pounds on the high school level. Big C, how do they grow them so big down in LA? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles and I guess they must be on that free food program down there. But high school kids now, Charlton, have just become enormous.
Yeah.
You know, when you see them walking right into these major 4-year programs,
yep,
and they're starting as true freshmen. Back years ago, Charlton, we had this red shirt thing that most kids, when they went into a 4-year university,
yeah,
is that they had a red shirt year, or you played on the freshman team as it was.
Yeah.
Freshmen didn't play on the varsity team, Charlton, not until, you know, the mid-'70s when that started. But,
yeah,
you know, early on, Charlton, it was always you went in, you played 6 or 7 games on the freshman team, basically, yep, a red shirt.
Yeah.
And you only had 3 years of varsity competition. But now with the growth and maturity of these athletes, you see so many high school kids nowadays, Charlton, that it's hard to call them a kid.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there, you're looking up to them and trying to look around them because of the size of them.
Yeah.
And the speed, you know, you think about in the 60s and 70s, if you had a running back that ran 4.7, 4.6, 40, maybe even 4.5,
yeah,
considered a lightning rod.
Yeah.
Now you have these kids coming out of high school, Charlton, running 4.3,
yeah,
in the 4.4 on a regular basis. So the development and evolve of the maturity of these athletes, Charlton, is off the charts. And it goes for great showmanship, but it also, Charlton, leads to that inherent danger where we keep talking about.
Yeah. The
violent collisions that these athletes have. They've outgrown the parameters of the arenas that they play in when you think about it. The NFL field has not increased in size.
No,
Charlton,
it has not.
In the history of football, period. Not just the NFL, but the history of football, the size of the field has not increased any kind of way.
No.
But if you look back into this game, Charlton, 80 years ago, all right?
Yeah.
You go back 80 years ago, a lineman in the league, Charlton, weighed 220 pounds.
Yeah.
You could be a good offensive lineman at 220 pounds. Now, if you don't weigh 320, you cannot get on the field. I remember years ago, Levon Kirkland weighing 285 at middle linebacker, 290.
Yeah.
And this was a beast that would have been a defensive lineman for decades.
Yep.
But he was running middle linebacker. Now, Charlton, average linebacker in the NFL is around 245, 250.
Yeah.
Those were linemen 40 years ago.
Yeah.
50 years ago in the NFL. Those were linemen. Running backs, you think about some of the size that running backs are being. Quarterbacks that are weighing 250, 260 pounds. So the game has changed, and these receivers are so fast, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Your buddy Julio Jones is 6'4", 6'5".
Yep.
5. And can anybody catch him?
No,
so
that's true.
This is something that the NFL needs to take a serious look at, Charlton, is increasing the dimensions of the field.
Yeah.
The NBA did it years ago when they widened the lane for the free throws,
yep.
Charlton.
Yeah.
They widened the key. It went from 6 inches down where it is now, 6 feet out to 12 feet to change the game. The NFL, I understand the hunger for seats in the stadium.
Yeah.
But you also have to have just as much a hunger of keeping players safe. If they're constantly preaching about it,
yep.
You got to change the dimensions of the field.
Well, eventually, hopefully they'll get around to doing that. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar business, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, tell them Big C sent you. You can call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. I do want to get, before we touch on the NFL and go down some of the games that happened over the weekend, Big C, congratulations to Nebraska. Now, you know something's wrong in Nebraska when the volleyball teams win the national championship and the football team can't seem to find their way. But congratulations to Nebraska. They actually won the national championship in volleyball as they defeated the number 2 Florida Gators, and Nebraska came into that ranked number 5 in the country. So congratulations to the women's basketball team, actually volleyball team at the University of Nebraska. Big C, over the weekend, my goodness. Number one, we're seeing a lot of college football bowl games. I think we've already had like 5 bowl games. I didn't even know they were playing them until I saw Oregon getting beat by Boise State. But I want to touch on the NFL. There's a changing of the guard, and we see it on a weekly basis. And as you talked about it, the Seattle Seahawks, and we'll get on them too, but just a lot of good things happening. New teams are at the top of their divisions. I want to start off with Sunday, Minnesota 34-7 over Cincinnati. And I know the Super Bowl this year is going to be in Minnesota. This team was closer and closer to playing, at least trying to get home field advantage in the playoffs if someone can knock off Philadelphia. Big C, your thoughts on Minnesota?
Well, Charleston, this is a team that's playing lights out of hand. When you think about Case Keenum at quarterback, man, this guy came off the scrap heap, and he's turned into a bona fide NFL star. And many people don't remember, Charleston, this is college football's all-time leading passer when he was at the University of Houston.
Oh, really?
He threw for just under 20,000 yards at the University of Houston. So Case Keenum can throw a football.
Yeah.
He has tremendous touch. He leads the NCAA all-time yards, completions, touchdowns, all of these things, Charleston.
Wow.
So he's not a fluke in the NFL. He just wasn't highly touted by your best friend, Mel Kiper.
He's not my friend. You keep saying that, Big C.
Well, yeah, the hair you guys
oh, okay.
so much alike that I thought you guys knew.
No, I'm all shaved, Big C.
Okay. But, you know, when you look at what Case Keenum is doing, Charleston, and in this game on Sunday, he was 23.
Yeah.
You know, right now he's on pace to have the second highest completion percentage in NFL history in the regular season.
Wow.
And that feat was done last year by your other friend.
Yeah.
That played there, Sam Bradford. Okay?
He's not my friend either, Big C.
But, you know, I think the person is most proudest of the quarterback,
yeah.
and he had 3 of them that he had last year on his team.
Yeah.
You know, is Jeff Fisher.
Yep.
You know, I think he's the most proudest ex-coach in the NFL when you look at what his proteges have done that he couldn't coach.
Yeah. I tell you, that's funny, Big C. Sometimes you just got to change partners if you want to have more success. I also want to look at another team that had a decent game over the weekend. And, you know, I love this time of year because we get closer and closer to the playoffs. The teams aren't going anywhere, but Washington with a 20-15 win over Arizona. Every time I think of Larry Fitzgerald, you know, this might be a swan song for him, but it's good to watch, you know, Arizona play, especially watching a great athlete like him. And your thoughts on Washington? They're not going anywhere, but they did get a win, 20-15 over Arizona. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, neither team was going anywhere. This was must-not-see football, really. You know, when you think about it, other than the loyal fans, you know, there was not too many people hanging around.
Yeah.
Your cousin, you know, was desperate for a victory.
Yep.
And so he was able to pull one out against the Cardinals, who had no quarterback. So, I mean, but they could only put 20 points on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that's talking about the top free agent quarterback in the NFL.
Wow.
Who's made, you know, close to $50 million over the last 2 seasons and hasn't amassed 20 wins.
No.
Think about that.
No.
You make over $50 million over a 2-season span, and you haven't had 20 wins, nor could you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's not bad math for the guy who's cashing the paycheck, though.
That's a very good point. Big C, on the Saturday game, Detroit 20, Chicago 10. Now, I might be a little bit different, but I really like the look of the Detroit uniforms when they went all silver and they had no stripes on their pants. It was almost like a high school look to see an NFL football team, no stripes on their pants, but that all silver. It was almost like, you know, that they should have played at, was it the Silver Dome that they tore down? Is that stadium still standing, or have they torn it down yet? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it eventually imploded, Charleston, on the second time around last week.
Oh, okay.
When they were trying to demolish it. But the Detroit Lions, I thought they had taken a pay cut, not a closing cut.
Yeah. They couldn't afford the stripes on the uniform, but they look sharp to me, Big C.
Well, Charleston, a much-needed victory to stay in the playoff race when you think about it. You know, I like what Jim Caldwell has done with this team, Charleston. Matthew Stafford needs a little more consistency playing at quarterback. You know, they really have never established a dominant running game, just paying the quarterback all that money.
Yeah.
But the Detroit Lions are still in the playoff hunt. I love that what Jim Caldwell does there as a head coach.
Yep.
He's always under fire, Charleston, but he's a consistent winner, whether it was in Indianapolis or now in Detroit.
Yeah, he's always winning. That's for sure, Big C. And so congratulations to them. Now, this is a game that kind of caused a shift and even some shockwaves in the AFC West. Kansas City, not only did they beat the LA Chargers, the Chargers thought they were still playing in San Diego because they played like it for the first time in about 5 weeks with a 30-13 win, Kansas City. And they seem like they got, there's one thing they have what you call a good loss, Big C. They've had some quality losses because it seems to be getting hot again at the right time of the year. Kansas City 30, the Chargers 13, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the biggest difference in this game was Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
Finally being healthy, getting off his concussion protocol. The young rookie running back, Charlton, rushed for over 155 yards in this game.
Yep.
And that was the difference because we know that the Chargers have a tremendous pass rush.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs didn't have to play from behind and put quarterback Alex Smith in peril.
Yeah.
When you're playing from lead, you slow down that pass rush because any play action when you got a running back running crazy like Hunt was in the game will get you down the field. And this game was the decisive game for who was going to win the AFC West.
Yeah.
So this puts Kansas City in the driver's seat one more game, and they sew it up, Charlton.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Big C, it's always the thing about college football and NFL football. You cannot lose 6 games in college football and still have the chance to play for the trophy. You can do that in the NFL, and that's why I think the NFL is so great. Imagine taking teams that are just the best at that time of the year and they play for the championship as opposed to a team that went undefeated. I like the way the NFL does that. I want to take you to another game. I look at Baltimore with a 27-10 win over Cleveland, and Cleveland's pretty much melded in, Big C. I know the Ravens are a defensive juggernaut, and they didn't start off the season very strong, but they're still in the hunt for the playoffs, and they get a 27-10 win over the Cleveland Browns, Big C. So it looks like Cleveland will be having some type of celebration. If they go to 16-0, I think they're determined to have that party, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Tom, you don't know whether to feel bad for Cleveland or mad at Cleveland. When you look at this organization, all the missteps that they've taken over the years. I mean, everybody wants to blame the head coach, Hugh Jackson.
It's not his fault. It's the system.
But it comes down to the players that they give you to play with.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
When you go out there and you pick a team from Our Lady of Mercy,
yeah.
and say, this is the best that we can come up with. This is all you have to play with.
Yeah.
He's not running the draft, Charlton. He's not making the final cuts. He can only make suggestions.
Yeah.
But Jim Haslin hired the wrong people in front of Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people around the NFL that knew what they were doing. He goes out and he hires an assistant from the Kansas City Chiefs to be the new GM. We're going to find out what he knows, Charlton.
Yeah.
Was it him or was it Andy Reid making Kansas City what it was?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, Big C. I look at another team that looks like they may snap their playoff jinx for the first time in many years. I look at the Buffalo Bills with a 24-16 win over Miami after Miami had just knocked off the Patriots down in Florida, and now they play against a team that's not as good as New England. But I'm telling you, this team, Buffalo, if you have Shady McCoy and you have Taylor, they have a good 1-2 combination. I don't think they're going to beat anybody in the playoffs, but they might just get there for the first time in a long time. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton have to go back to New England and play them one more time so that could halt their playoff aspirations.
Yeah.
But it also goes back to that game when they sit down Tyrod Taylor.
Isn't that something?
In San Diego.
Yep.
When they played Peterman.
Yeah.
The coach has to look at that and say, hey, I may not be that smart of a guy that I can sit down the quarterback and has me with a winning record.
Yeah.
And I put this other guy in because, and I don't know if it was all the coach's decision, Charlton, because sometimes management starts speaking in your ear. Say, we want to find out what we have in Peterman.
Yeah.
Because we're not sold on Tyrod Taylor taking us any further in the future. That's the most iconic talk in the NFL, Charlton.
Yep.
When there's an African-American quarterback on a roster, we often hear this from the other media analysts is that we don't know how far that guy can take the team in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to Robert Griffin. He had an injury, in Washington.
Yeah.
But the talk side, we don't know how far he can take the team. We saw that with Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
Well, we don't know if he can still play in the NFL. And now we're seeing this with Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
We saw it last year when he had to take a pay cut. No other quarterback with a losing record took a pay cut. He had a 500 team, had to take a pay cut.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're not sure about it. His record was the same as Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins gets $25 million. Tyrod Taylor got to take a 50% pay cut.
Yeah.
Now you analyze that for me. Now, and fans, I mean, sometimes you guys think we're biased.
And just Google it.
And throw shades at somebody or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But explain it to me with your intelligence.
Yeah.
That you got a quarterback that's a winning quarterback, okay?
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins was under 500. Don't forget that last year. He was under 500 last year, and he's under 500 this year.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor the past 2 years have been at least 500 or better as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But he had to take a 50% pay cut from a $35 million contract, $35 million 3-year contract that he had.
Yep.
He had to take a 50% pay cut from it.
Yeah.
That's what he had left on his contract. Kirk Cousins took a pay raise. He went up to $25 million this season.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps saying, well, he's the hottest free agent quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
If hot means having ice cube in your pocket,
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to sign next year for half of what he's been making because Jimmy Garoppolo just guaranteed he wasn't going to be a 49er.
Yeah, that's true. You want to get out of there as soon as you can. You know, sometimes they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I remember this great movie back in the day with the great Jim Carrey. It was called Dumb and Dumber. And there was a scene where he was trying to meet this good-looking woman that he was after. I can't remember her name, but he was after this good-looking woman. And one of his friends, they were in a hotel, and his friends had to use the restroom, but the restroom was broken. Okay, and the restroom was broken, and he went in there and did his number 2, Big C. Okay, the restroom, the toilet wouldn't flush, and that good-looking woman that he liked was trying to come in there after him. I thought that was one of the loudest, funniest scenes I've seen in a long time. And it seems like with the quarterback situation, it's the opposite. They have guys who are broken because they don't win, and they're the ones who get the $25 million a year. Big C doesn't make any sense at all. And speaking of big quarterbacks that are broken, I look at Aaron Rodgers and how much admiration I have for Aaron playing a game when people were saying, well, maybe he's too injured. You know, he doesn't want to go back and hurt himself. We don't want him to go out there and get hurt. But here's a guy that decided to play anyway. He looked a little bit rusty, but I do appreciate the fact that he's not one of the players that says, I broke my fingernail, I can't play. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, I look at players who play hurt every week, not just hurt, but injured.
Yeah.
In this league every week. I mean, it's not uncommon for a lineman or a receiver to have a scope on their knee and be back in a couple of weeks, and no one says anything different about it.
No.
It happens all the time, but when it's certain players, and Aaron understands that there's a short window left in his career.
Yeah.
He doesn't have 10 years left to play. He's lucky if he has 5 years left to play in this league, Charleston. He's been around a long time. He suffered some serious injuries over time. But he understands also that it's imperative that he gets every game in because you don't know how many opportunities that you're going to have to play for a championship in your career.
Yeah.
People would have thought, a decade ago when they won the Super Bowl that they would have been back.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
That's true.
He's been there once in his career, and Aaron understands that. It is a special place to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And when you look at the NFL landscape right now, Charlton, how many quarterbacks have been there multiple times that are left in the NFL?
That's a good point. Yeah.
You got Brady. You got Eli, who is on the way out the door because Ben McAdoo did him a favor by benching him, and I think the Mara family realized how stupid they were for starting him. Because they fired McAdoo.
Yeah.
But Ben Roethlisberger, Charlton, when you look around the NFL, there's 3 quarterbacks left in the league.
Yeah.
Well, and Russell Wilson make it 4.
Yeah.
It's been to the Super Bowl multiple times. Drew Brees hasn't been back.
Yeah.
So, when you look around the league, Charlton, these guys don't get that many opportunities to go to the Super Bowl. So every game is an important game for a quarterback or any other player. When you've been injured, you want to take every ample opportunity to get that chance to go back at least one more time.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Especially if you haven't won it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Big C. And I want to take a little pause, and I want to congratulate some of the college football programs that have already won their championships. NCAA Division III playoffs Friday, December 15th at Salem, Virginia. Mount Union 12 and Mary Hardin Baylor nothing. And Division II playoffs on Saturday, December 16th in Kansas City, Kansas. You had Texas A&M Commerce 37 and West Florida 27. And you're going to have coming up on January 6th the championship game for the FCS playoffs. And you have North Dakota State, which is 13-1. They're playing James Madison, which is 14-0, and that's a noontime kickoff. And the playoff games, James Madison 51, South Dakota State 16, and North Dakota State 55, Sam Houston State 13. So when people say it's hard to have a playoff platform where everybody can play, they do it on the smaller divisions. They let the guys play for it. You're not just voted into it, Big C. Back to the NFL. I look at Jacksonville, 45-7 over Houston. And Jacksonville, with that defense, Big C, they are legit. I know they can at least win a playoff game, but with that defense, I wouldn't be too surprised if they found themselves knocking off somebody in the playoffs, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, Jacksonville is a surprise of the NFL. You know, we think about those two other teams down in Florida.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay that everybody said was on the rise last year and should be a playoff contender this season.
Yeah.
We think about the Dolphins who made the playoffs last year. Dalton had been a doormat all season this year. No one gave the Jacksonville Jaguars a chance. Doug Marrone had been fired unceremoniously as the coach of the Buffalo Bills just a few years ago, Charleston.
Yeah.
Pre-Rex Ryan.
Yep.
And so no one thought about him in any light in coming into this organization, Charlton, but he had a mentor in Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
Who was excommunicated by the New York
The
Giants.
Jets.
So
Yeah, by the Giants.
Yeah. A couple of Super Bowls, but you got to go.
Got to go. Yeah.
And so this was a situation where Coughlin went in. He instilled some confidence in Doug Marrone. He also communicates with him well. This is what it takes. You got to have a strong running game. What did he do? He went out and drafted Leonard Fournette.
Yep.
He already had Yeldon on the roster, who came from Alabama the previous year, Charlton. He built up the offensive line, but he had a defense that was in place that is just dominating people.
Oh, yeah.
He went out and signed some key free agents to go with some top draft picks that they had, and they have proven to be a winning commodity. I don't know if Blake Bortles is understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
But right now, he looks like an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He might be as shocked as everybody else.
Yeah, he might be shocked. And I think, you know, they have the only minority owner in the NFL, and I'm proud.
Shad Khan is his name.
Shad Khan is his name, and he came out and spoke about, he actually thanked the community for sticking with him. You know, a lot of times people want to up and go. I look at the contrast of that with the Oakland Raiders, and the Raiders are willing to take a losing product to Las Vegas. And here they are, Jacksonville. Everybody's been saying Jacksonville should relocate to a different market. Jacksonville needs to go to L.A. They need to go to some other larger market. And here is Khan, has his team in the playoff hunt, and he's thanking the community as opposed to saying we're going to go for a bigger pastor, unlike Mark Davis for the Raiders. And I congratulate him and his team. They actually are doing things the right way. Big C also, as I look back into the NFL, I look at New Orleans 31-17 over the Jets. I know Drew Brees at some point in time wants to get back to the Super Bowl. As you just mentioned, it's very hard to get back there, but a good win over the Jets. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the Jets, we saw it 2 weeks ago when they put in Bryce Petty at quarterback. They limited the options that they had as far as throwing the ball. They just made it a running team.
Yep.
But, you know, the Saints came out, and they're a dominant team on the ground when you think about Ingram and Kamara. Have made a huge difference. Ingram has really been challenged by Kamara, which has made him a better player this year at running back. And so this tandem that you don't get tired in the backfield is the best tandem in the NFL right now. And this young receiving core, everybody thought when the Saints let Brandon Cooks go to the Patriots, they knew something, that they had a young receiving core, that they didn't need an older guy in creating too much wash.
Yeah, that's true.
And so with these young guys that they got playing now, you don't have any selfishness. And Drew Brees will get the ball to you when you're open. And he's still good for 300 yards a night.
Yeah, that's funny. He throws to you when you're open as opposed to some other quarterbacks that throw to you when you're not open, Big C. But yeah, congratulations to New Orleans. They're playing well. There's a lot of beads rolling around in New Orleans. That's the one thing. I went down to New Orleans one time, Big C, and this woman threw some beads at me. I had no idea. I was lifting my shirt because I was scratching my stomach, you know. This lady threw some beads at me. I thought I'd done something wrong. I realized it's just a culture down south. So be careful when you go down to New Orleans. Big C, another game that made a lot of people scratch their heads sometimes when you look at how it's called. I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the 34-29 win over the Giants. Now, this is the same Philadelphia team that has blown out a lot of people, had a high-scoring game against the Rams in the Coliseum of Los Angeles. They were blown out by Seattle up in the Great Northwest, and now they're playing a team that has 2 wins, and they're barely hanging on to win. Big C, you know how sometimes you lose that momentum. I contrast them to Kansas City, where they've already gotten past the bad part. I know people are high on Philly, But when your defense is giving up 29 points a game, that doesn't bode well if you're going to make a playoff run. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think about the Phillies about 4 years ago when Chip Kelly was the head coach there,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And Michael Vick was the quarterback. All of a sudden, Michael Vick got hurt.
Yep.
Michael Vick had this huge contract. Everybody saying he was the future of the Eagles. And they had this young man named Nick Foles on the bench.
Yep.
All right? Nick Foles took over from Michael Vick, ended up the season, with 29 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Nick Foles did the same thing. Nick Foles took over for an injured Carson Wentz last week in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Led the Eagles to a comfort-behind victory over the Rams.
Yeah.
We saw what the Rams can do to a team.
Yeah.
All right? Turns around this week, Charlton goes into New York. First start in, since last year, since a year ago.
Yeah.
In the NFL. It's been 13 months since he started the game.
Yep.
Threw 4 touchdowns, Charlton. No interceptions. And led the Eagles to a victory. Now, this is a glimpse of what we saw 4 years ago with Nick Foles, Charlton.
Yeah.
When he took over from Michael Vick and had the Eagles on a hot hand.
Yep.
Now, I've never doubted his ability. It's just being in the right situation at the right time. The Eagles traded him because he and Kelly, Kelly didn't like the way he ran the offense.
Yeah.
They got rid of him.
Yeah.
And now he's in a scheme once again with a quarterback coach in Frank Reich who understands his talent and knows what he can do with this organization, Charlton. And to come out in his first game
Yep.
as a starter to pull out this big victory,
Yep.
as well bringing the team from behind last week, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Eagles are really sitting in a good position.
Well, I want to bring up something also, and again, I'm proud of any player who can go and perform. But I look at how the league was pushing Carson Wentz to be the MVP. Oh, he's a can't-miss MVP. He gets injured, and then you bring in a guy that can't get a start, and he plays just as good or better. And you go ahead, Big C. Go ahead.
What's the difference between the Eagles this year and last year? They're the same players, okay?
Yeah.
The same coach.
Yep.
The difference is that they gave Carson Wentz some weapons.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Carson Wentz. It was an upgrade of weapons.
Yeah.
He was the same guy, the same ability. He didn't change.
Nope.
But what changed was you gave him 3 solid receivers and 2 good running backs.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference in Eagle. Everybody says, Carson Wentz is much better. No.
The players around him.
They make him look better.
Yeah.
That's what it is. When you had nobody to throw to, when you bring in a Smith and a Jeffries, a Blunt,
Yeah.
and a Jai,
Yeah.
you make it real easy for him. You got Ertz at tight end.
Yep.
You make it real easy for him. His talents are no better than what they were as his rookie year, Charlton.
No.
But the talent around him is all pro caliber talent. So now he looks like an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Big C, you brought that up a long time ago. I want to bring you to one more game before we get into 2 great games that happened. I look at San Francisco with a come from behind 25-23 win over Tennessee at Levi Stadium down in San Francisco. And one thing that I look at with Lynch being the GM of the 49ers, stay in the press box. He was down on the sidelines as if he's doing a Jerry Jones thing and trying to make it about him. And I think that's what, people could do what they want to do. But I don't think DeBartolo, when he was out there playing and when the good old boys were winning championships, I don't think he was down on the field with the team when they won a game. But everybody can celebrate the way they want. But if you make it about the players, Big C, and not try to become one of the players again, I think your organization has a better chance. That's just my opinion, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, here it is. He's brought in this new young quarterback, Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And he wants to make it shown that he was the guy who made this. And he made a wonderful managerial decision.
Yeah.
You think about it. There's almost a dozen teams around the NFL that could have used Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And nobody was willing to give New England anything for him. And the talk was all the time about it was going to take a couple of number 1s to get Jimmy Garoppolo. For some reason, the 49ers were able to get him for number 2.
Yeah.
So were the other teams unwilling to make any type of trade, or is that all Jimmy Garoppolo was worth in New England's eyes? They knew they were going to have to pay him if they kept him next year, so to get something without just losing him was a smart move on their behalf, but an ingenious move by Lynch, bringing him to San Francisco.
Yeah.
He operates just like he was doing in New England, Charlton. He learned under the tutelage of Brady for 4 years in Belichick.
Yeah.
So he had some knowledge coming into the game, and Josh McDaniels, a tremendous offensive coordinator. So really, all he had to do was pick up the San Francisco system. Now, Lynch will get credit for his success as well as Shanahan will get credit for his success.
Yeah.
But you have to look back at New England for the success of a Jimmy Garoppolo because he learned behind Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and Josh McDaniels. He hasn't learned anything in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's just walked in there with less talented players than what he was accustomed to playing and playing at the level that he was accustomed to playing at in New England, Charlton.
Yeah, a couple more games, Big C. Will stay out in the Bay Area. Dallas with a 20-17 win over the Oakland Raiders. And I don't understand with the NFL with all the money and let's get instant replay. And we're going to look at a replay for 5 minutes, Big C, to determine if someone had a first down or did they catch the ball? Did they hold on to the ball? Did he move his mat? Did his middle finger move? Did he wiggle his toes? Okay. A first down is determined by a cue card, Big C. Did I see that wrong? A cue card, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess you've gone to all new links, as you would say.
Yeah.
You know, use a piece of paper to measure for a first down in the NFL that it's that low. But I think the NFL has gone real outlandish in all this instant replay.
Yeah.
Because of high definition television, Charlton, and 4K television. There's nothing you can't see any longer.
Yeah.
But, we keep talking about the human factor of the game. The game is played by the players.
Yeah.
But the replays are done by some technician.
Yep.
That see something that the players don't see in real time.
Yeah.
And you have to let the game be the game at some point.
Yeah.
Because there's a total inconsistency in what these officials are doing and what they're seeing.
Yeah.
And what they're relaying back. And so we're being told that what we see doesn't matter any longer.
No, it doesn't.
Watch the game. Think that you're seeing a game.
Yeah.
No. But we're going to go back and regurgitate this thing.
Yep.
And break it down microscopically and tell you what occurred or did not occur.
Yeah.
And that's where the game has gone to, Charlton, which is a shame because football, as we talked about last week, you're paid to be violent.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're paid to be violent, not paid to go out there and look at replays.
Yeah.
And so when you take the factor of the game away, and now, regardless of what occurs, you're going to decide it through replays.
Yeah.
I think the integrity of the game is what's being lost, Charlton.
Well, this was decided with the cue card, Big C. No matter whether you're from Dallas or Oakland, if they're bringing out cue card, and it was double folded. It's like a Las Vegas, the dealers down in Vegas where they know the cards are bent or sticky. It was a double folded cue card, Big C. I just thought that was a joke for a billion-dollar industry. I want to take it up to the great Northwest, and I look at the Seattle Seahawks, and they were spent before the game. These guys have been exhausted. They went all across the country, and they played a physical game at Jacksonville, was a very physical team just like them. So they had a lot of issues with that, and then they had also the ejections and the fines, etc. They were not in that game emotionally for the first time in a long time. I think with all their injuries, you're going to see a different roster next year for the Seattle Seahawks. And Russell Wilson, if they want to protect their most prized jewel, they got to get a better offensive line for him or have him become a drop back passer because I hate to see him get injured like so many players. But a beat down by the Rams, 42-7. And Gurley obviously is the player that we thought he was. Your thoughts on the Rams going up north? And when the Rams fight the Eagles, I think the Rams can beat those birds, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Todd Gurley was a rookie of the year in the NFL just a couple of short seasons ago, Charlton. Running the football, and that's what he's gotten from McVay. He's brought back that running game with the Rams, and that's what allowed Jeff Goff to mature so much this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
Todd Gurley last year, Charlton, had one 100-yard game. You think about it. In an entire season, one 100-yard game. And this year, Charlton, he's one of the top rushers in the NFL. He had 4 rushing touchdowns, Charlton, over 150 yards rushing, and 1 receiving touchdown, Charlton. We haven't seen that from the Rams since the great Steven Jackson out of Oregon State played with the Rams when they were in St. Louis. He's the last Ram running back to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So, what Todd Gurley did was move into air, but the Rams, Charlton, have had the Seattle Seahawks number the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
They've having a winning record against this team, Charlton, when they were in St. Louis. And now that,
in L.A.,
they moved back to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They have no fear of the birds. These goats have been knocking the birds through the holes.
That's
funny. It's amazing to see the turnaround in this organization.
Yeah.
The change that one coach has made. Charlton, we've seen this with a couple teams in the NFL this year.
Yep.
That a coach has come in, he's believed in the players, he's made some good personnel moves along with management, and the end result, Charlton, is a winning season.
Yeah, I tell you, and just so impressed with the way he runs. He reminds me of Eric Dickerson, a former Ram Hall of Famer. And when Eric got the corner, he was gone. All you needed was like one block, get him into the open field. And when you run him outside of the tackle, as opposed to running him in between the tackles where all the meat is, run him on the outside of the tackle where he can give you the hip and take it away, and he's gone. He must run like a 300 meters with pads on. I'm very impressed with the way Gurley runs the football, Big C. 2 more games. Last night, was it a touchdown? Was it not a touchdown? Was it a bad play and a good rule, or a good rule and a bad play? And Shazier's back, and the Steelers fans are very happy about that. Congratulations to him, and I hope he makes a great recovery. But I want to just get your thoughts. That was playoff football. In fact, that was AFC Championship kind of football, watching Pittsburgh and also New England. And I know Antonio Brown went down with an injury, but this was a game where you just can't throw the ball over the middle, kind of like Seattle did in the Super Bowl against the Patriots defense. Your thoughts on the game and just what you thought about it, Big C, your thoughts.
Charlton, this is a tremendous insight to the playoffs in the NFC, but don't count Jacksonville out of it, Charlton, because they qualified for the playoffs with that win this weekend, Charlton. But this is a game that's typical of the Steelers and Patriots, Charlton.
Yeah.
A hard-fought football game,
Yep.
2 tremendous quarterbacks, receiving cores that will do everything it takes to win the game, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, everyone is going to focus on that last play of the game. So that wasn't the last play of the game, but that alleged catch.
Yeah.
But if we go back, Charlton, and we look at the history of those type of catches, Charlton, you see where it falls in the line. And the first one that was brought into question about that was Calvin Johnson several years ago against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Where Calvin had made a catch and it completed a couple steps in the end zone.
Yep.
But then on a pirouette, he put the ball down on the ground. They called it an incompletion.
Yeah.
We go back to Dez Bryant against the Green Bay Packers just a few short years ago in the playoffs, Charlton.
Yeah.
Where it looked like he had made a catch. He goes to the ground, the ball comes out, incompletion.
Yeah.
Now this even earlier this year, Charlton, the New York Jets against the Patriots, where the tight end had caught the ball on a swing route, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he had ran 6 yards. Now, if any of them was a catch, that was a catch. But when he got to the end zone and went over the pylon, the ball came loose.
Yeah.
They called it a fumble.
Yeah.
But the one last night, Charlton, I'm going to agree with the officials on this. Because they say you must make a football play.
Yeah.
Now, anyone who saw Jesse James make this attempt at a reception, Charlton,
Yeah.
they did not see him put his feet on the ground. He left his feet, okay?
Yeah.
He came down with one knee, and when that ball hit the ground, it came loose.
Yeah.
So he did not make a football move after putting the ball in 2 hands.
Yeah.
That was the difference in it. So they went by the rule, Charlton, and it was a correct rule.
Yeah.
And we keep talking about this replay, so it's good and bad, however you want to decipher.
Yeah.
But he had to make a football move, which he did not make. When he left his feet, Charlton, which I don't know if he had to or not, but he did to make it look more spectacular, whether he was worried about getting hit by a defender. But when he left his feet and he came back, Charlton, if you go back and look at it, I know you got 9 or 12 HD receivers in your house, Charlton,
Okay.
to replay stuff, all right? I don't know if you paid for them all, but you got a lot of them in your house.
I'm connected to the airport down in Atlanta, and then pulled my plug, and I didn't see the replay, Big C.
But when you look at it, and all those fans that were disappointed from Pittsburgh, is that you have to go by the rule, and you have to make a football play. He made no football play, Charlton. He got one knee down on the ground.
Yep.
And in pro football, we know you have to put 2 down.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And make a move, and he didn't do any of those. And when the ball hit the ground, everyone saw it came loose. Everybody will say, well, once it crosses the plane, the play is over.
Yeah.
But you have to have control prior to it crossing the plane.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We've seen many times when players reach out, the ball comes loose, and they don't call it a touchdown, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was a spectacular game. I hope we get to see the rematch part 2 this year in the playoffs. Actually, it'll be next year in January in the playoffs. Tonight's Monday night game that's underway, Atlanta at Tampa. So Atlanta was able to get the airports. I guess they used some jumper cables to get the airport started back up because they went down to Tampa and they have a game at Tampa. It's important for Atlanta to get this win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they desperately need this win to stay in the thick of the playoff hunt. You think about the teams in their division. The New Orleans Saints is leading the division, Carolina second, and Atlanta's third. They were the NFC's representative in the Super Bowl last year. So they desperately need this victory. And Tampa hasn't put up much of a fight for anybody, Charlton. But this is a game that you can't sleep on when you go down there as the Falcons, coming off the big win last week. They got to keep the momentum rolling, Charlton. If they lose one, they're out. So they're playing for their playoff lives, Charlton, the next couple of weeks. And each of the games over the next couple of weeks are against division opponents, Charlton. They're going to be playing Carolina and New Orleans all over again to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So great job with the NFL. We're getting into the playoffs, and I love it. It's a great time of year. Tonight in Los Angeles, Big C, down on the West Coast, we hope that everyone's safe through all the fires, but they're retiring Kobe Bryant's jersey number 8 and 24. Of all teams they bring in on retirement night, they're bringing in the Golden State Warriors to have his retirement party for 8 and 24. Big C, your thoughts on how great Kobe was, but why would they pick Golden State to retire his jerseys? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, normally, Charlton, you want to bring in somebody like Phoenix, for a night like this. To at least have a celebratory event, on and off the court, but bringing in Golden State, it might not be, that spectacular of a night as far as other than retiring Kobe's 2 jerseys. I mean, you think about it, Charlton, this is the only player to ever have 2 jerseys retired. 2 numbers. With one team. So that's an iconic move within itself to do that. And I mean, Michael wore 2 different numbers when he was with the Bulls. He wore 45 as well as 23. When he came back out of retirement, Charlton. So, this is an interesting night, but a well-deserved night for Kobe. The Mamba, being, celebrated with all the Lakers greats, Charlton. And to have 2 hanging in the jerseys in the rafters. Now he's the Lakers all-time leading scorer. Kareem's the NBA all-time leading scorer, but Kobe's the Lakers all-time leading scorer. So great accolades for Kobe, great celebratory moment, being able to be honored like this tonight at the Staples Center, Charlton.
Well, Big C, there's so much happening in the world of sports, and we bring it to you on Big C Sports. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bandini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always say, Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, for only the second time in the NFC's illustrious history, have 4 teams who did not make the playoff the previous season be in first place in their divisions. When you look at the Minnesota Vikings, the New Orleans Saints, Charlton, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Philadelphia Eagles. None of those teams qualified for the playoffs last year, Charlton. They're all leading their divisions with high hopes of making the playoffs and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Well, speaking of high hopes, you can always have high hopes every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you listen to Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never, ever any reason for domestic violence or domestic abuse. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911. No woman should have to go through that garbage all on her own. And as we tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.